Gratitude. Sounds a bit wishy-washy, right? It's like something you might hear in the end of a yoga class or read on a motivational poster. Hear me out on this, because there's more to the story. Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of Life's Multiverse. Today we're diving into the word of gratitude. Yes, this virtue that's highly hyped, but it's a little bit unclear. What are the benefits, or what does it effectively do in our lives? But today in this episode, I'm going to reveal everything for you, backing up by latest research, as always, on what gratitude actually does to our lives. So without further ado, let's start. What if I told you that gratitude could simply change your life, shift your brain? Sounds like a strong word, right? But it's actually true. And we'll explore exactly how this works. So let's start first by defining gratitude. Well, gratitude is well known as saying thank you, maybe, but there is more into that. It's not just about saying thank you, it's about feeling appreciation or grateful for things in your life. It could be very small or very big, it doesn't matter, as long as we are having this sense of gratitude. And this practice has been incorporated deeply in our ancient wisdom, even in our religion. There are too many social practices built based on gratitude. The most simple one is Thanksgiving. It's all about gratitude. There are also many other religions that emphasize the importance of gratitude in many practices. So, why is that? Well, the fact is, there is a reason behind it. And it was well known intuitively to people before, but unfortunately, nowadays, it's not coming to us that easily. Maybe because we are very focused on the materialistic view of the word, even though gratitude deeply affects the materialistic of our brains and bodies. But it's slightly overlooked and underestimated, where it might sound something like a weak sauce or just a trend. But in fact, people are starting to rediscover what are the real benefits of this very simple practice. And saying a simple practice here somehow oversimplifies things because gratitude not always simple, but it's definitely a very straightforward ticket to happiness. And we will discover how this works very shortly. So let's now do a simple exercise to shift our mind to the mindset of gratitude. Imagine you are in the middle of a busy day, commuting to work, checking your calendar and your agendas, your to-do lists, everything you have to do and what you have to do after work, taking care of your family, and your different life obligations. Nothing seems promising until one stranger comes by and smiles, saying hi, or maybe offering you a coffee. How would you feel about that? Just imagine yourself for a second in this particular situation. You will feel very grateful. And this is exactly the effect of gratitude that you just right now experienced. Let's explore a little bit what's happening under the hood. What's happening inside of your body at this moment? What actually was found in research is that gratitude deeply affects our brains, especially the regions like medial prefrontal cortex and the cingulate anterior prefrontal cortex. These are the regions in the brain that's responsible for higher cognitive abilities and positive thinking. So, gratitude targets the positive neurocircuitry in your brain. And this effect goes directly into your heart. And as we mentioned in our previous episode about the brain heart coherence, have you watched that? If you haven't, you should check it out because it's highly correlated with gratitude. So gratitude effectively emphasizes the brain-heart coherence by adjusting the heart rate in the rhythm with the brain synchronization. So the heart and the brain will be working in synchrony. And this could be measured in the measurement that we mentioned in the previous episode, which is the HRV, the heart rate variability. And it was even found by research that when measuring people hearing some stories about gratitude, different people in different times, different circumstances, they measured their HRV while telling them stories of gratitude. They noticed the same pattern in HRV in these different people. And this should mean something. It means that gratitude affects our brains in a similar way, introducing patterns of positivity. So, why this is important? Well, this is very important for a very simple reason, which is the neuroplasticity that we also talked about earlier. Neuroplasticity is the ability of the brain to change itself. And why is that important? Because when we are targeting these positive neural circuitries in our brains by gratitude, we are effectively training these areas in the brain to be stronger. So these pathways will work more easily in the future. And that means it will strengthen our positive sensation towards the word and will make it easier for us to switch to this positive mode, which I think by itself is just an immense benefit for our well being. Imagine how your life would be if you could just in a fraction of a second shift your mindset from a very negative event and very negative thought loop to be in a positive state. How would this affect your day and emotions? It will have tremendous benefits on your health, both mental and even physical. Because by synchronizing our hearts and brains and entering the state of positivity, which is associated with brain heart coherence, we're having all the well being benefits that we talked about in the previous episode on the brain heart coherence, which is happiness, feeling positive, feeling warmth, having higher cognitive skills, and even better health. So, what gratitude does, it actually trains our brains to be more in the positive state. Here, we should mention that there are other practices that also target these areas in our brains, like mindfulness and many types of meditations. And it was found that gratitude is actually the most potent and effective way to train these circuitries and rewire the brain. It also have a direct impact on the dopamine releasing centers in the limbic system in our brains. So when you express gratitude, you will have more dopamine in your system, which is the neurotransmitter that's responsible generally for motivation. And it will also affect our serotonin levels, which is the neurotransmitter that's responsible generally for happiness. It was found that practicing gratitude for only a few minutes a day is sufficient to have a long lasting benefit. So, for example, when we practice gratitude for a few days in a row, for just 5 minutes a day, let's say, the impact on our brain will last for weeks or even months. And the more we practice it, the easier will it be to access this positive state in our minds. And it was found that we don't even have to do that every day. We can do it just a few times a week for just a few minutes. So imagine how powerful and potent this practice is to have this huge impact from such a little practice. And now you might ask yourself, if it was that powerful and that easy to access, why aren't we just doing this? Why nobody told us? Well, the answer is a bit tricky because it is related to some of our survival mechanisms in our brain. Our brains are, in fact, very powerful survival machines. It can do everything to keep you alive and to protect you from danger. But this comes with a cost. Our brains are usually playing a protective role where it predisposition us to notice the negative things around us way easier than noticing the positive things. Because if everything is good, then no need to worry. But if something is bad approaching or happening, something like a monster in the wild, well, you need to be aware of that. But you don't need to be aware of a butterfly flying nearby because that's not harmful. But you'll easily notice a toxic insect or something dangerous. So, this is why in our daily life it's way easier for us to get stuck in these negative thought loops because our brains are in constant survival mode. They are noticing the dangers. They don't have time, especially nowadays where stressors are all around us. We don't just simply have time to notice the positive because it's not dangerous, it's not life threatening. But the negative things are always could be life threatening, at least from our limbic system perspective. So that's why it's way easier for us to notice the negative rather than seeing the positive. This is how our brains trained. And this is why many religions and cultures were trying to override this trait and trying to introduce gratitude. But now, since we are away kind of from these practices in our modern lives, we just simply don't have time for, we don't have enough time for spirituality. It's harder to get into this positive state. It's harder to train our brains to actually see the positive, even though the impact of it is significant. And you can simply remember just now, take a minute. Remember when was the last time someone gave you a heartfelt thanks? Someone gave you genuine appreciation. Imagine or remember how it felt at that moment. Didn't didn't it feel great? Didn't it feel calm, relaxing, safe? All these positive emotions that are associated with a healthy heart rate variability. So why not to intentionally harness all these positive benefits and not to wait for it to come by coincidence or just to happen accidentally in our lives? Let's introduce it to our life intentionally by doing these gratitude practices. But let's here for a moment just redefine our goals and redefine what are we trying to do. What we're really trying to do is to achieve a state of gratitude. And here there are two types of gratitude. There's the temporary occasional gratitude that is mostly situational, that we feel after some certain event of and a moment of appreciation and thankfulness. And there is the constant kind of trait type of gratitude. And this is the gratitude that's related with immense health and well being benefits, as well as mental health positive effects. And they are actually correlated, but the difference is the habit factor. Because making gratitude a habit and repeating it over and over again, it will make it, as we mentioned, easier for our brains to access this state of gratitude and positivity. So when we do it over and over again and we practice it regularly, it will just become a habit. Therefore, we will enter this continuous gratitude state where we have all these benefits we mentioned. But if we stay reliant on the temporary, occasional gratitude, it is still good and it will give us boosts of happiness at some moments. But this will not be long lasting because simply our brains will forget it after some time if we're not practicing it regularly. So, what we need to do is to strengthen these neural circuitries, keep doing that regularly, then it will work by itself automatically, and gratitude will be our automatic reaction. And here it's also very important to mention that gratitude is not only about giving thanks and appreciation to others, it's also about receiving appreciation and thanks. In fact, it was found that receiving appreciation and thanks is more potent than just giving the appreciation. And this was found in many studies where they did brain scans and did a lot of measurements on participants where they received kind of money praise or something, and they found a profound impact on their brain circuitries, especially when they knew that these praises or these gifts were received genuinely and they were heartfelt and not just reluctantly. And this is a very big factor because it shows that even when you are given a raise at work, let's say, or a gift from someone, if you don't feel that it is genuine, it will not have this positive impact on you. I think this is very intuitive for us, and we can all relate on that from our daily life. But it was difficult for me to make sense of it. Like, why does it matter? But now that I know the science of gratitude, it actually perfectly makes sense because we can't simply trick our brains. It will see because this is how we evolved. This is how the way we build our societies. Because gratitude is one of the bases of the social coherence, which we can talk about in a later episode. It's a very broad topic, but gratitude plays a major role in that. And now let's focus on how to make effective gratitude practices in our daily lives. There are a lot of tools and exercises that you can practice gratitude with, and we will mention many of them now that you can start practicing right away. One of the most effective ways, especially for people who are not used to this concept, is journaling. In fact, journaling has so many benefits in terms of expressing all kinds of emotions, especially for people like myself who are not used to express their emotions for some upbringing reasons. For example, for me, it was very difficult to express my emotions and to let all my feelings out. I had very difficult times doing that. And I found that journaling by advice, and it was a very valuable advice, that is one of the most effective ways to do that. And it works especially great with gratitude because when you are pouring these feelings and all these positive notices and appreciations somewhere, whether it's on paper or on an electronic journal, it makes your brain simply ruminating on it. So we know how bad it is to ruminate on negative things, but you can imagine how good it is to ruminate on positive things. So it emphasizes this feeling, it strengthens the emotion, and you will feel that this emotion is now physically existent. Because for some people, like myself, as I mentioned, I find it hard to sense the emotion. I find it hard to materialize my emotions. But when I started practicing journaling, I noticed that I can actually see my emotions on the medium that I'm writing on. And that was actually a great paradigm shift for me, where I saw that, okay, then emotions are something tangible. Another benefit of journaling is that it's memorable. We all know how it helps our memories to write down things. Just the act of writing down include our senses in the process. It helps us memorize stuff. Following the same method here, writing down positive things will help us memorize it better. Therefore, we can recall it easier in the future. Another benefit is that we can always come back to it in the future. And this particular thing brings us to the next exercise, which is the gratitude jar. It's kind of funny, but very helpful that you can keep a jar. And whenever you encounter something you feel grateful for, you just write it down on a small piece of paper and throw it in the jar. And later on, whenever you feel like you need a shot of gratitude, you can go run to this jar and open it and just read some piece of papers from there. you'll instantly get in the mood of positivity and feel the feelings that you had when you wrote down these ideas and these notices. It's very helpful, so I highly recommend trying it out. Another practice, which is the more standard kind of way to practice gratitude, is mindfulness gratitude, where you just intentionally set some couple of minutes. It's even sufficient. Some people do 1 or 2 or even 3 minutes a day. Just set it purposely to only think about things you're grateful for. And doing that repeatedly every day or almost every day can guarantee you a great results. Also related to that, there are some kind of guided gratitude meditations, which is also something I do very frequently, and I find it very helpful, especially when my mind is not that focused and I'm a bit distracted, or the negative things are simply just overwhelming around me. And it happens to all of us where when we are living through negative or bad times, let's say, it's way harder for us to feel this sense of gratitude. We just feel that the world is all against us and everything going against our will. But in fact, having these guided gratitude meditations will help us ease down and enter this state of gratitude more easily. It could also remind us of things that we didn't notice, just like the sunshine or the glass of water or very simple things that we have in our lives that we used to overlook just because of this protective mechanism that we mentioned from our brains that protect us from the positive things because it wants to preserve our energy to deal with the negative and life-threatening stuff, but at the cost of preventing us from harnessing this gratitude benefits. Tools and practices revolve around social factor, such as writing gratitude letters for people around us or simply doing acts of kindness, which is also highly impactful and very beneficial. And now, as we came to the end of our episode, I wanted to thank you for listening. I hope that you learned something new today on this episode and you experienced the positive impact of gratitude while remembering these and doing these simple exercises with me by remembering positive moments and moments of gratitude in your life. Remember that gratitude isn't just a feeling of thank you or a once a year event at the Thanksgiving table. It's a daily practice, it's a mindset, and perhaps a new way of viewing the world around us. So I hope you are walking away from this episode with a renewed sense of appreciation for the little things, and maybe even a curiosity to explore gratitude in your own life. Stay grateful, and we'll see you on the next episode.